Hi, everybody. It's high noon here at Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns, the podcast. I'm Jay Jennings.
I'm Tom Betts.
And today we have a special show for you where we're going to cover two, as Tom calls them, spaghetti Western baddies. So let's get the show on the road. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 18 of Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns, the podcast. I'm Tully Savala's baby. No, I'm got my hair cut, I guess. Just thought I'd do a little house cleaning. Tom, what do you think? Are we the Betts brothers now?
Looks great. I won't wear a hat next week. We'll be twins.
Right. Anyway, so just to remind you all, we are the only Spaghetti Western podcast here on the internets. And we come to you every Friday at 12 noon here at Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. East Coast, 9 p.m. in Europe, and 8 p.m. in the UK. And today we have a special...
Don't forget 4 a.m. in Japan.
4 a.m. in Japan, that's right. And I guess, what is it, 2 p.m. somewhere else, right, Tom?
Somewhere.
We're on every hour somewhere in the world.
Somewhere, yes.
Right. And anyway, so Tom, why don't you tell us a little about yourself? What have you been up to these days?
Just preparing for the podcast, getting over the heat wave. Now we got another one for a couple of days, back in the upper 90s, so fall will never get here.
Aren't you still in Almeria, though, Tom?
Yeah, I'm still here. I told Jay I found another backdrop where it's the opposite of this one. It starts at the Yellow Rose and looks uptown. So right. I may get that one later on, switch it out.
Oh, that's funny. So anyway, just to remind all of you who I am, if anybody even has a gander, I'm a Spaghetti Westerns collector of films and autographs and posters and lobby cards and photo boosters and locandinas and half sheets from all over the world. So when you combine Tom and I, you kind of get a fun show where we cover all aspects of the spaghetti Western genre. But today we have a special show, Tom, and I guess we can let the cat out of the bag. It's George Wang and Al Mulock Day, Tom.
Yep. Couple of actors that everybody knows, but they don't know too much about their backgrounds.
Right, and Tom would be more than happy to share their backgrounds, and we have some clips from their movies. So we're not really going to show trailers per se. We're going to actually show clips where they shined, which could be, in Al Mulock's case, if you talk about Hellbenders, that could be 5 seconds. If you blink, you miss him.
And Sheriff has fractured jaw. We said he's only in there for a second too.
Jaw. So you might miss that too. We should do a show on Kenneth Moore, huh, Tom?
There we go. Yeah, let's skip him and go right to Jane Mansfield. We'll do a show on her and Mickey Hargitay.
Right, that's a good one. The films of Haggerty and Mansfield.
Yep.
So anyway, so I guess we'll start with George Wang, Tom, and I think George. Great character actor. He's in a lot of films. There he is. And that's the look he basically has in most of his movies. Sometimes his hair is shorter. Other times, like in The Executioner of God, he's behind a mask. I always thought it was peculiar that you had kind of an Eastern presence in these spaghetti Westerns. It added a little bit of flavor, of course.
Yep.
But sometimes I thought he was... What do you think, Tom?
No, I'm sorry. You went out. You blanked out for a second. Well, that's what piqued my interest, because most of the time in the spaghetti westerns, when you see an Oriental, it's an old guy that's 80 years old that plays a grave digger or takes care of the stables or the laundry or whatever.
Right.
And it's always a different guy. He's not an actor really. He's just somebody that they found to put in there to show an Oriental presence for a second. But George Wang was in what do we come up with? 15 westerns.
Yeah.
So he was a main staple. He co-starred in one with Bob Henry. So it always piqued my interest on where'd this guy come from. Why was he in Italian westerns or in those type of movies altogether? And it took a long time to get his background down on who he was. I asked Robert Woods because he was in a movie with him too, and he knew who he was, but he couldn't tell me if he spoke English or much about him at all. So that was a dead end. So it took a while to come up until he passed away, and then all of a sudden I found a big obit about him and got a lot of information from him that way. Yep.
Well, we'll start with, well, I guess you get a little background first, and then we'll get to his first film, El Cisco.
Okay. Well, George Wang was born Wang Chunyang. That's one word, Chunyang. He was born on November 12th, 1926 in Liao, Liao, Ning, Andong province in China. He died on March 27th, 2015 in Taipei, Taiwan, China, of a heart attack. He was a director, a film actor, married to actress Luo Yang, and father of actor Don Wang, real name Teo Wang, who was born in 1945. He co-founded Wang Film Company in 1976. The story behind him is George was born, as I said, Wang Chunyang. His film career began in China at the age of 12 in 1938. After venturing to Italy in 1959 to appear in the film The Great Wall, which was later renamed Last Train to Shanghai, he decided to stay in Rome once the film was completed because of the film industry was thriving. He participated in the Mongols 1961, 55 Days at Peking in 63, and eventually appeared in nearly 50 films altogether. Now billed as George Wang, he was almost the only active major Oriental actor in Europe and became very influential in the Italian film industry, even contributing to the cooperation with the Shaw Brothers pictures. During his stay in Italy, he became one of the Euro Western genre's villains and appeared in over a dozen Euro Westerns, which we are about to cover. Returning to China in 1976, he continued acting and started his own production company, as I mentioned, Wang Film Company. He died in, like I said, March 27, 2015 of a heart attack.
Right. Yeah, he had a great career outside of the spaghetti westerns. Great character actor. That's why we're doing a special one.
Yeah, he was also billed sometimes or made to look like a Mexican. He would.
That's true.
They wouldn't call him by name, but he appeared with like the opening shot you had with the sombrero, made him look like he was a Mexican.
Well, a little bit into Peppa, wouldn't you say, Tom?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at the poster for El Cisco. We've covered this film before. It's a Bill Berger film.
Right.
And it's not a bad movie. Actually, it's a minor classic. It's done very well, and Wang is featured nicely in it.
Yep. Berger, as we know, has been accused of robbing a bank in Dallas. He's put in jail, and he gets out and proves his innocence. But he runs into the outlaw Capobano, who attacks and massacres a ranch he was working on, and decides to join the gang to prove his innocence. And that's what George Wang plays, Capobano, or El Tuscarora, the leader of the gang of the Mexican bandits. So there again, his role as a Mexican.
Right. And we have a clip from El Cisco. So let's take a look at George in action, and we'll sit and watch it along with you. If I can get the thing going.
That Baxter's a sharp fellow, ain't he? We are lucky he is with us. Doesn't it sound like a good plan to you, huh? Yeah, but it ain't a job for me. I've come for another reason. We will all be rich.
There we go.
I got other work. Someone tried to get me hung in his place.
There is a huge fundraiser.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
there we
nice.
go. A
A
commercial, like a
fundraiser.
political commercial.
Sorry
Way to go,
about that
Jay.
damn it.
Now they're going
Way to go,
Sorry,
Jay. Put a
interruption.
political
Okay.
commercial in there. Oh,
Look, I've been holding on to this bullet for 5 long years. It's for the man who robbed that bank in Dallas. Who was he?
Why do you think I know?
You know him, don't you?
I see you don't have trust in Tuscarora. You think I changed that quickly? I prove I don't. Here, look at this. I have carried this close to my heart, and I have never once thought of turning you in. Cisco is worth a lot of dollars, but I am worth twice as much. For me, they are offering $10,000.
Tuscarora. Tell me his name.
I'm going to. Only the men were 2, so someone told me.
2, did you say?
Will you help us with that job at the bank?
Tell me who they are.
Kincaid. He was one.
Kincaid. Nobody I know.
He is a coward. I'd look out for him. He knows you.
And the other?
It's called Bird Challenge. He once robbed banks. Now he owns them.
Not bad. Let's begin with this Kincaid. Where is he?
What do you want to do, huh?
I'll handle him like the coward you said that he is. He won't suffer.
That's
Very good.
probably one of Wang's best roles
Yep.
in a spaghetti western. The most screen time,
probably.
I would think. And there's a couple scenes like that where he just, he just laughs it up, and he's having a great time. He's kind of like a little bit of, the Asian Fernando Sancho. In a
Yeah, I was
way.
going to say he's got a little Fernando in him. Yep, sure does.
And he's a fun character. So, I mean, that was just the first appearance in the spaghetti western, and he was in others, and we're going to talk about them. Next, I think he was in A Taste of Killing with Craig Hill.
Taste of Killing. We may have mentioned this one in the overlooked westerns. Craig Hill plays lanky fellow who observes valuable transports of money or gold, but when they are robbed, he doesn't intervene. He allows the robbers to carry out the robbery and then brings the loot back to collect the insurance. Where his job brings him in conflict with the notorious outlaw Gus Kennebec, played by George Martin. He has personal reasons to protect the money, as Kennebec was once responsible for the death of Lanky's brother. George Wang plays Mingo or Machete, Kennebec's right-hand man. This is available on DVD. El Cisco is also available on DVD.
Oh yeah, they're both films that I would catch if you could, and I'm going to try to find the clip right now.
Been waiting for you.
Want something to happen to Molly?
What?
She's going with us. And if you talk, I hate to think what'll happen.
Cowards. You cowards! We're not like that kind of talk.
Yeah,
There we
well,
go.
that was a quick scene, but
Yep.
yeah, not a lot, not as much as he did in the other one, but basically a desperado who does the dirty work of what was that actor's name, Tom? We saw?
George Martin.
Oh, that was George Martin?
Yep.
Wow,
He's
didn't even
the
recognize.
birthday boy. It's a birthday today.
Oh, wow. I guess you'll mention that in the news
Yep.
later. So, yeah, and what I was going to say about George Wang is in some films he's featured predominantly nicely in a featured role. In others, he maybe says a couple words. You may not see him for half the film, and then he's back again. We're going to see that in, I don't know if I wanted to show the clip. What's the film that he did where he's part of this gang of bandits, and after they have their way with a woman, the guy shoots her in the stomach.
Oh God.
Anyway, yeah, I didn't want to show that clip, but he's in that, film. He's kind of bummed that the girl I guess he wanted his turn, and the girl got killed before he could have his way. But that's why I didn't want to show it. Some of these films, are just throwaway roles that he probably just took as compared to El Cisco.
I'm sure.
Right.
Took it for the bucks.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move on to the next film, which is very confusing. A colt in the hand of the devil, not to be confused with when the devil grips a colt.
Colt, yeah. And the problem is he's in both of them. So when you research him, you get all flustered because the titles start to overlap, and he's in both films, and it's a mess.
Right.
But
So tell us a
also
little bit
known as
about it.
an angel with a gun is a devil. Devil was an angel. Produced, directed, written by Sergio Bergonzelli, who we talked about on the Sergio podcast. It's about an ex-army captain named Pat Scotty, who's played by Bob Henry, who's hired to eliminate a gang of Mexican bandits led by El Condor, who's George Wang. Pat craftily earns the trust of the bandits, enabling him to trap them all. But in the meantime, genuine friendship and respect have developed between him and El Condor, but they must face each other in the final duel. It's on DVD. This is probably Wang's biggest role because he's co-starred in this one. He's in it. Marissa Salinas is in it. Lucretia Love, Jerry Ross, and Luciano Benetti. So this is probably the biggest he got as far as billing.
Oh yeah, he's the lead on the poster.
Yep.
But I had trouble finding a clip of it, so I'm sure it's available somewhere. When I put together the show every week, I give myself a couple hours. The wife and the son are asleep, and I'm up perusing the internets, trying to find clips. So sometimes I might miss it, but I'm sure you guys can find it somewhere. But it's a good movie. And then right after that, and it was The Executioner of God, where he plays that role where the girl is.
Oh, okay. Judgment of God with.
Right, I was concentrating
Murder,
with the mask, so I kind of forgot that. So anyway, after that, he made the revolutionary film To Peppa with Thomas Millian and Orson Welles. And he has a decent role in this one, Tom.
Yeah, it's also called Long Live the Revolution in Blood and Guns, directed by Giulio Petroni. Of course, music by the master, Ennio Morricone. The Mexican Revolution of 1917 finds Tepepa, who's Milian, leading a group of campesinos against the Mexican Colonel Cascoro, while an English doctor hunts for Tepepa to take revenge against him for the murder of his girlfriend. I had to go back and look at this to find out where Wang is. He plays Mr. Chu. Well, Mr. Chu's a gun merchant who sells guns and ammunition and dynamite to Tepepa. There's a scene in here, if you recall, where there's a flock of goats that they tie dynamite around and then shoot the ones with the dynamite from the overhanging cliffs. And that's where the dynamite and the guns have come from, is Mr. Chu, who's played by George Wang. This is on DVD and Blu-ray.
Yeah, Tepepa is one of my favorite films because it has Orson in it. Anything Orson Welles is in, he adds a little class, a little fun to it. She's in other films too, like Ferry to Hong Kong and The Southern Star with George Segal and Ursula Andress. That you would think, what is he doing in this film? Well, it's Orson Welles. He's also an actor, and yes, he's a little overweight and bloated, but he's fun to watch, just as he is in Tepepa. So anyway, moving on to the next George Wang film is a Sartana movie. Tom, Have a Good Funeral. My friend Sartana will pay.
Yep. Wang has a good time in this one. This one's got another one. Jay, have a handful of different English titles. Have a Good Funeral, My Friend, A Present for You, Amigo, A Coffin from Sartana, Stranger's Gold, Gunslinger, Have a Good Funeral, Sartana Will Pay, and Have a Nice Funeral, My Friend. It's directed by Anthony Ascott, 1970. It's an Italian-Spanish co-production. Music is by Bruno Nicolai, and it's an outstanding score. After witnessing a brutal massacre, Sartana is ready to do some investigating. Almost everyone in the tiny town of Indian Creek seems eager to buy up the property left behind by the murder victims, and one of them could well be behind the killings. The sheriff himself is not above suspicion, so Sartana must uncover the culprit all on his own. Wang plays Pang or Li Tung, a Chinese gambling house owner interested in buying up the land with the rest of them. This one has Johnny Garco as Sartana, Antonio Villar as Ronald Hoffman, Daniel Giordana as Jasmine, Elga Lean which is Helga Lean, plays Julie, and it's available on DVD and Blu-ray.
Qué extraño reloj.
Oh, this is okay. If I get another
That's the
commercial,
gambling house scene. There he is.
Este es de plomo. El de plata lo guardo para las grandes ocasiones.
oh, and in Spanish.
Entre nosotros el tal Pigot es un taur muy astuto. Si tú lo has descubierto, significa que eres un buen jugador. Te invito a jugar conmigo. No tengo inconveniente. Pero tendrás que cambiarme esto. Es una carta de crédito. $20,000. Es el precio que me había pedido el pobre Benson por sus terrenos. ¿Y tú tenías intención de pagar a Benson $20,000 por esos terrenos? Quien compra arena construye muros de cristal. Eso lo dijo Confucio, que era un sabio. Sería un sabio, pero tal vez no entendía de terreno. Puedes jugar hasta esa tiza conmigo, amigo.
Yeah, I mean, I could only find that clip that wasn't in English, but you get the gist of it. He's kind of like a Fu Manchu kind of character.
He more than holds his own against Garco. I mean, the guy can act. It's not just a walk-on role for him in these films. He can act with the best of them.
He can, and of course, the film is a great Sartana film in the plethora of Sartana films. And then Wang moved on to make, he went from a Sartana movie to a Django film with Kill Django, Kill First. And there's the rare VHS cover.
There you go. This is also called Tequila, the Spanish title. It was done in '71, again, Italian-Spanish co-production, directed by William S. Regan, Sergio Gironi, who we covered a week or so ago. This one's about a banker, Burton, dreams of owning all the mines in the region. He uses the bandit Martinez to kill and drive off the miners. When Johnny or Django arrives, he tries to pin a murder on him to get him out of the way. Well, Johnny is played by Jack Stewart, Giacomo Rossi Stewart. Anthony Burton is played by our buddy Aldo Sambrell. And Lopez Martinez, of course, is George Wang. And this one's, well, let's see. This one's on DVD.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's take a look-see at it while we have it.
On the ballot.
Oh, my God. Again?
No, a cover show.
Systematic.
Okay,
depression.
you're getting on my nerves here.
There we go.
Okay. I don't know how much longer we could watch George Wang walking in a cave. But he's actually kind of a weird, mystical character in this film.
He seems to get more into the Oriental parts the longer his career goes on in these films. Started out as the Mexican bandit, and now he's become the Oriental.
Right. Well, then after that, he went on to make... would you call Jesse and Lester a comedy, Tom?
Yeah. At the best, it's a comedy, yeah. Someday we'll talk about Richard Harrison and how much he loves this film. But
well, it's a great cast.
This is about. It's also called Jesse and Lester in the UK. Place called Trinity. Two brothers in Trinity, and of course Jesse and Lester, two brothers in a place called Trinity. It's vying for the longest title in spaghetti Western history. But directed by James London, who's Richard Harrison in disguise. Produced by Richard Harrison. Written by Richard Harrison. Music is by Carlos Savina. It's about two stepbrothers who inherit their uncle's land and immediately fall out as they begin pursuing opposite desires. One, Jesse, Richard Harrison, leans towards establishing a whorehouse. The other, Lester, Donald O'Brien wants to build a Mormon church in a town filled with crooks. George Wang plays the saloon owner in a big prize fight scene. This is on DVD and Blu-ray. It's got Richard Harrison, Donald O'Brien, Gino Martorano, Aldo Sassoni, and of course George Wang as the saloon.
Okay, let's take a look-see.
Don't forget, there's a load of gold dust leaving for Canyon City at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. But you tell Polka, this time I will come to collect my percentage alone.
You tell Polka.
You to be seen around this place.
Okay, not again.
Come on.
Okay,
Oh.
now if you want a brick with glue,
There you go.
see that's the problem, Tom. When
Oh, those things, yeah, I know they're full of.
right, it
every
used to not be that.
Used to
I
be
mean, I
one. Used to be one commercial a scene, and now it's like 5.
No, I know in our first at least 10, 11, 12 shows, we never got an interruption. Now it's every 5 seconds. So
Yep.
I guess Google just wants to shove that down our throat. So anyway, it's a good film. Not Jesse and Lester. I meant his part
Yeah.
is a good part. And he's always fun in what he does, as we discussed. Okay, then after that film, Tom, he made one that has a couple titles. Deadly Trackers, and the long cavalcade of vengeance, Tom.
Yep. Or the Long Ride of Vengeance. Django's Bloody Trail is another one. This is directed by Americo Anton, written by him also. Americo Anton is Camilo Basia. Music is by Carlo Esposito. And this one's about Jeff Carter, played by Richard Harrison, who sets out to murder each one of the 5 outlaws led by Montana, who's played by Rick Battaglia, who robbed, raped, and killed his poor sister. He lays a fragment of her poncho on each of his victims' dead bodies as a mark of his revenge in a gripping, exciting tale. George Wang, as Georgie Wang in this one, plays Ling Fu, one of Montana's henchmen. There's another one of those like the Brett Halsey movie where he throws a silver dollar on the corpse of each guy he kills.
How many movies are there like that, Tom?
Right. This one's on DVD.
Right. Not bad film, kind of obscure.
Very obscure.
Not to be confused with the Richard Harris Deadly Trackers, right, Tom?
Right.
So, yeah, if you can find it, it's an enjoyable watch. Speaking of obscure films, the next film we've gone over during our Robert Woods show and before and after that, 6 Bounty Killers for a Massacre, also known as a few other things. And this one I don't think was released too heavily, Tom.
No, it was only on VHS that I can find. That hasn't been on DVD or Blu-ray. It's also called Pay or Die, Alive or Dead, directed by Franco Lattanzi. Music by Piero Piccioni. It's a 72 Italian-German co-production. The governor of Kansas hires 6 gunfighters to overthrow the tyrannical rule of the self-appointed sheriff of Abilene, played by Donald O'Brien. The sheriff and his henchmen kidnap the governor's family to even the odds. George Wang plays Ming, one of the sheriff's henchmen. Stars Robert Woods as Stephen Fearmaker McGowan. Donald O'Brien, as like I said, is the sheriff of Abilene, known as Frank or Jack Forrest. Tilio Dottesi plays Cemetery, and Mauro Manatrizio plays Kid Frazier or the Whistler. And like I said, it's only available on VHS, no DVD or Blu-ray release.
Or Yugoslavian television, Tom.
Yeah, it could be.
Right. I think I have a copy somewhere. It's okay. It's, as I joked with Tom, it's Black Jack 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 without the Black Jack Jack Jack.
Yeah.
So anyway, so moving on to another Wang classic is the other Devil Grips Something, When the Devil Grips a Colt. And this one's with William Berger, Tom.
Yeah, but we've talked about this one before. It's a 72 Italian production directed by Frank G. Carroll, who's Gianfranco Baldanello. Its music is by Piero Piccioni. As a favor for the late Jeremy Scott, who had saved his life while in prison, Roy Coster comes to Silvertown where he clears the name of the wrongly accused man. Robert Woods plays Roy Coster. Attilio Dotesi plays Jeremy Scott. William Berger plays Dutch Butch Brown or Isaac McCorney. George Wang plays Warner, and Warner is the town boss of Silverton. So he's got a major role in this one. And then Mila Stanek plays Lisa. It's available only on DVD.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not bad. I think the first one with George Wang is better.
More
Obviously.
action in that one. A lot more explosions and guns and stuff like that than this one.
Yeah.
This was more of the typical murder mystery type of dramatic Western.
Right. So who do you think has more screen time, Berger or Woods, Tom?
That's a good question. I would say Robert Woods, but most likely Berger steals the film. So.
Okay. So let's see what we have here. Oh, you know what, Tom? I do have. We're going to go back a little bit. I do have footage from Deadly Trackers.
Okay.
So it's the one scene with Wang in it. So let's take a look-see. Right now. Okay.
Oh, now I got a underwear commercial.
Oh, okay. I'm glad to know
Logo
that.
Network.
It's always good when bootleggers put their stamp on something.
Now he had 4 aces and Wang had 1 ace yet. Wang's the cheater.
Okay. Well, that was a riveting scene, Tom.
Very good.
Riveting as can be. So after we were going on to the next film. Seven Devils on Horseback, Tom. Great title. Known as a few other things as well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about this film.
7 savage men, 7 killers came from afar. Directed by Gianni Crea, also written by him with music by Stelvio Cipriani. Jeff McNeil, Dean Stratford, his sister was killed by the Cooper gang in the town of Stanton. He sets out to get his revenge. So we have Jeff McNeil, played by Dean Stanford, which is Dino Strano. Mm-hmm. Tornado, played by Mario Brega. Rosie, Femi Benusi. Cooper is Gordon Mitchell. Foster, Pino Mate. Sheriff Perry is Maurizio Toshi, and Cooper Henchman is played by George Wang. I was told that this is reused footage. He didn't say what film it was reused in, but he plays just a gang member, so he must have just a short scene.
I'm sure. That's why I didn't find the clip for it.
I couldn't find anything, yes.
So, anyway,
and that's on VHS only, no DVD, Blu-ray release.
Right, and that was the VHS cover.
There you go.
So after that, he made one of your favorite films, Tom, Shanghai Joe.
Shanghai Joe. This got a bunch of names too, Jay. The Man Strikes Back. My name is Shanghai Joe. To Kill or to Die. The Fighting Fists of Shanghai Joe. The Dragon Strikes Back. Directed by Mario Kano, also written by him and screenplay by him. Music by Bruno Nicolai. Well-known theme on this one. Shanghai Joe is a Chinese immigrant seeking a new peaceful life in America. He lands in Texas, where he's not exactly welcomed with open arms, but finds employment as a cowboy and soon finds it's not cattle the ranch inhabitants are moving, but Mexican slaves. Wang appears in a flashback as Master Wang and awards Joe upon his graduation into the Society of the Fire Lotus. He's at the very end of the film. It's available on DVD and Blu-ray. Chin, or Shanghai Joe, is played by Chen Li. Scalper Jack is played by Klaus Kinski. Pedro the Cannibal by Robert Hundar. Barry and Sam is Gordon Mitchell. And, of course, Master Yang is George Wang. It's got a great cast. And it's one of the first mixtures of spaghetti western and samurai films.
Well, spaghetti western, chop socky kind of film. It's not bad. I'm not a huge fan of the mixing of the genres, but
Yep, me either.
it's not bad.
This is
It's not
watchable.
bad. It's better than the sequel. Let's just put it that
Yep,
way.
good cast.
Right. Anyway, then George went on to make. Oh, did he really do that one? Jeez. Right. I think did I skip? I did skip the Executioner of God, didn't I, Tom?
Yeah, we can do that one real quick. The Judgment of God.
Okay.
It's done in '72, directed by Franco Lattanzi, music by Piero Piccioni. It's about a former gunman, Tony Lant, becomes a priest, Father Anthony. After the accidental death of his son, he seeks vengeance on the three bandits who are masquerading as law-abiding citizens. We covered this before because it's a William Berger film. He plays
Are you the
Tony
Undertaker?
Lant.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
you could say so.
George Wang plays the Ramon Orca, or the Ace of Diamonds. All these bandits have
That's to pay
masks,
for his funeral. Understand?
diamonds, spades, hearts, clubs. He's one of the bandits who blows up the mission, which
Hi.
Berger's
Oh my
kid is
God.
in. There she is again, Tracy
Personally
Abrams.
asking you to sign the
Stacy,
petition
Tracy,
to
I'm not
demand
giving you a
And
dime.
this film is
Yeah,
not
thank you,
available
sir.
anywhere.
And see you make
It is
it
not
a good
available,
one,
Tom?
or you'll have me to answer to.
I've got a pristine
Must have
copy.
been out recently because that's a
Listen.
great print. I've seen this one.
Gotta give us a
What is she screaming from the well, Tom?
She's screaming, and they're giving her a couple of days. That suits me. Must be
Right.
a real pain in the butt.
It was. So let's move on to I guess is it our final Wang film, Tom?
This is his last Western. Yep.
What a way to go out, Tom.
Again, the Son of Zorro, which we covered with William Berger. Son of Zorro aids an American gun runner, John Warren, in his effort to supply arms to Mexican revolutionaries in their effort to overthrow Emperor Maximilian. It's a '73 Italian-Spanish co-production directed by Frank G. Caro, which is Gianfranco Baldanello. Music by Carmelo Giganti. George Wang plays Pedro Garcia, which is our famous Sergeant Garcia in all the Zorro films.
Right.
So you can see him in that role. Fernando Sancho's in this also as Colonel Michel Leblanc. And Elisa Ramirez plays Dona Conchita Herrera. It's available on VHS, no DVD or Blu-ray. Maybe we can talk Wild East into releasing it for you.
I doubt that's even on their radar, Tom.
I doubt it too, yeah.
Right. So, well, that's our George, I guess, Wang tribute, and great actor like Fernando Sancho and Eduardo Fajardo and a bunch of others. So he has his place in spaghetti Western history and lore.
Yeah, like I said, that was '73 that he did that movie, and he went back to China in '76. So his career basically in Italy was over in just another year or two.
But he did have a nice one though. 15
Yeah, he
films.
sure did. Yep.
Definitely.
Probably,
Well, Tom,
Jay. I'm guessing '76 would have been the height of the Chopsaki films. Maybe it was big over there, and he could, with his name, went back and, like you said, opened up his own production company and made samurai films.
Right. No, of course. I mean, that's, as I said, when you're talented and
Yep.
didn't he direct a film?
Yeah, he
or two,
directed
Tom?
too. So you go where the money is.
Yeah, absolutely. So that closes the book on Mr. Wang, and great career. And then that moves us on to our second of our, I guess, focuses of the day, Mr. Al Mulock. Had a few aliases, and Tom's going to tell us a little about Al right now.
Yeah, mostly Al's aliases were just different spellings of his last name. He goes by Al Mulock, Mulock, most of the time, but his actual spelling of his name was Mulock. You also see it spelled Mulloch. But he was actually born Alfred Mulock Rogers, Rogers, in Toronto, Canada, on June 30th, 1926. He was a descendant of William Mulock, 1843 to 1944, who was the former Postmaster General of Canada. His parents were Adele Cawthra Mulock and Alfred Rogers, both from Toronto. He married actress Steffi Henderson, real name Stephanie Muriel LeBeau. She lived from 1925 to 1967. The couple purchased the Red Barn Theatre in Toronto that same year. The Red Barn Theatre just burned down within the last 5 years. It was been active all that time. It was basically stage plays. Al became a father in 1950 to Robin Claire Mulock. Today, Robin goes by Marcy Eclipse Nielsen and lives today in Rhode Island. She was put up for adoption in New York. I found her email and tried to contact her on Sunday or Monday and have not gotten a reply. So I don't know if the email address is bad or she just says, forget you. But
She would have been a great guest, Tom.
Yeah, I tried, guys. Anyways, at that time, he gave up the child for adoption. Steffi and Al divorced in 1956, and he married actress Catherine Ellison from 62 to 68. They had no children. Al then moved to England, where he became active in British television and film. According to Mickey Knox's book, The Good, the Bad, and the Dolce Vita, The Adventures of an Actor in Hollywood, Paris and Rome, Al committed suicide in Gaudix sometime during the shooting of the opening scenes of Once Upon a Time in the West. Knox said Al apparently jumped from his hotel window or the roof of the hotel. Mickey and production manager Claudio Mancini saw him fall past their window. Mancini put Al in his car and drove him to a local hospital where he died from injuries sustained in the fall, which is basically a punctured lung. The reasons for his death have been attributed to either a drug habit or he was despondent over his ex-wife's death earlier that year from cervical cancer. I've been unable to find out where Al is buried. Al appeared in 5 Euro Westerns, which we'll now cover. But I've tried for a long time to find out where Al is buried. Was it Spain? Did they send him back to England? Did they send him back to his homeland in Canada? I've even contacted the administrator of the Mulock Genealogical Board, and she doesn't know either. So we've come to a dead end there. If anybody can find out, I've asked a couple of guys that go to Spain regularly if they could contact someone there to find out, but I've gotten no answers.
All right, just don't call me Knuckles, Tom. Right. Anyway, so we're going to take a look at the career, or the spaghetti western career, the 5 films of Al Mulock. Of course, the classic lines, I've been waiting 2 years for this, and of course the knuckle crackling at the beginning of Once Upon a Time in the West and stuff. So we're going to take a look at some of his films. The first one, though, was in the late 50s. It was a nice beginning of a career with Kenneth More and Jane Mansfield, and that's The Sheriff for Fractured Jaw.
After inadvertently stopping an Indian attack on a stagecoach while traveling in the American West, an English gentleman, who's Jonathan Tibbs, played by Kenneth More, finds himself appointed sheriff of a nearby town. Of course, the guy can't shoot or anything else like that, so Jane Mansfield basically has to teach him how to shoot and defend the town. But it's got a fantastic cast if you look at it. There's Kenneth More, Jane Mansfield, the mayor, which is Mayor Masters, is played by Henry Hull. Everybody will know him. Keno, played by William Campbell. I can't believe that he was in that early of a film, but he was. Bruce Cabot plays Jack. Robert Morley plays Uncle Lucius. Ronald Squire plays Toynbee. David Horn is James, and Al Mulock is a cowboy at the bar. Once you know who Al Mulock is, you can find him in the film, but he's only... I don't think he even has any lines, does he, Jay? He just stands there.
No, he takes a sip of beer, and then Jane comes in and says, what are you boys doing here? Get out. And then he Al turns around, you get a nice shot of his face, and that's it.
All right.
So I think I actually have that.
So let's... I got a trivia question after this for you on Sheriff for Fractured Jaw.
Okay. Let's take a look at this scene that I'm going to try to play for you now. There it is. And this is the scene you're talking about, Tom.
That's it.
Okay, here we
He's
go.
at the other end of the bar.
Right.
We ain't seen him yet either.
Okay.
We sure would like to catch up with him.
Who are you, dirty yellow?
Oh, the
Okay.
brick commercial.
Is 50
Look,
times
we need
stronger
bricks.
than regular glue. Keep watching to find
Keep
out
watching.
how this glue works.
Okay, can
Mm.
I? You know what? Okay,
It's not
can
actually
I
a
get
glue.
rid of this?
It's a liquid
I don't
plastic
know.
that
Can you?
hardens with UV light. And
You got the switches. There you go.
You're hunting them down in pairs now.
There he is.
Well, let me tell you something. You'll be toting no guns in my place. If you don't
Now on
want
the
to play
right.
by house rules, you get. The both of you, hit the trail. Get!
Mm.
And if you're here after sundown, I'll do some shooting myself. Too bad they didn't hang you when they hung your brothers.
Right. All right.
So,
Now the
yeah,
trivia
there's-
question.
Go
The
ahead.
trivia question. Kate or Jane Mansfield sings in this. Remember her singing? Because she owns the
sang.
saloon? Okay, she sings. She doesn't, that's not her voice. Who's the voice of Jane Mansfield singing?
Oh, that's Dorothy Provine, Tom.
No. Give up?
I was confusing that with The Great Race.
Okay, it's Connie Francis.
Oh, of course, where the boys are.
That's right.
That's great.
Connie Francis, singing voice of Jane Mansfield.
Did not know that, Tom. Thank you for that bit of trivia.
There you go, buddy.
So let's move on to a role that actually, I think he's his most famous role in, and
Yep.
that's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and where he's searching for Tuco, and he gets more than he bargained for. So tell us a little bit about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Tom.
Well, we
which
all
we've
know
already
that
talked
one.
about.
And Jay showed a shot of Al when he first started. That's the opening scene in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Al's the first one you see. But it's about three rogues, a bounty hunter nicknamed Blondie, who's played by Clint Eastwood, a Mexican bandit named Tuco, played by Eli Wallach, who got ripped out of an Academy Award for that appearance, and a gunman named Angel Eyes, or Sentenza, played by Lee Van Cleef. They all go in search of $200,000 of Confederate gold buried in Sad Hill. If you remember the opening scene, Al pops up, Frank Branagh and Saturno Serra arrive in town, and they go, looks like they're going to go have a shootout. And they join together and burst into a restaurant. You hear some gunshots, and Eli Wallach comes jumping out of the window with a turkey leg in his hand and rides away. Al comes stumbling to the door and takes one final shot and then falls back down, and you presume that he's dead. But towards the end of the movie, when they go in search of Sad Hill, Tuco sees an abandoned hotel and goes in and finds
my
a
God.
bathtub. So he decides to take a bath, and who shows up? Probably one of the most famous lines of the movie right there, yep.
Right, and I enjoyed that scene. I actually watched
And this
that a
is
lot.
on DVD and Blu-ray.
Classic. I mean, that's what he's known for. There are T-shirts, mugs, pillowcases, all with that scene, and actually Al's mug on a mug. So classic. I mean, enough can't be said about that role. It's a small role, but it's very memorable. Next, he moved on into a bigger role, Tom. I'm just kidding. If you blink, you will actually miss Al in The Hellbenders. And he's near the end of the movie. I don't know what his scene has to do with anything. I think Cotton and his gang are getting ready to go, and you hear a rumbling in the bushes. I'm just having my beans. So tell us about The Hellbenders, Tom.
Well, we talked about this before under the Sergio podcast because it's directed by Sergio Corbucci. It stars Joseph Cotton, who plays Colonel Jonas, who following the Civil War refuses to accept the South's defeat and attempts to form an army to continue the war. Together with his sons, he steals a large war chest, which they try to escort hidden in the coffin of an officer back to the South. And as Jace says, at the very end, this beggar shows up, and it's Al Mulock. And I think at that point, they start to question whether they've got the money in the coffin, or is it the right coffin, or what, because they had to bury it back at the army fort. And when they finally uncover it, I think Aldo Sombrell's in the coffin, not the money. And that's the way the film basically ends. But this is available on DVD and Blu-ray. And like Jay said, he's got a very small role in it. And it's at the very end of the film.
Right. If you blink, you'll miss it. So I'm going to set it up. I'm not playing it before I get to it because as soon as I press play, the scene's over. So let's take a quick, oh, okay, we'll take a quick look. And now, here we go.
What about it? It's ready.
Hey,
There he is.
enough for me.
And that's basically it.
Well, I've been a whipping and a sniffing that grub of yourn. Ain't no use wasting good lead on me, mister. I'm near dead of starvation already.
Is he on his cell phone? Okay.
He's got a cell phone.
Hi, I'm Stacey.
Okay.
Oh, there she is again.
I'm personally
Third time.
I'm telling you,
Find-
Sleepy
really
Joe
needs the
really
money.
needs the help. Yeah.
Demand vote
Yeah, it really
Okay,
does.
so anyway, that was basically his scene. And it's not bad. I've been smelling your grub for 2 hours
Yep.
now.
Yep.
So the movie's okay. It's actually not bad as far as a Corbucci film goes. I personally think Joe Cotton was miscast because he's just, he's got a hunchback and he's just, he looks like he's tired. Who would you put instead of Joe in that movie, Tom? Maybe. How about Broderick Crawford?
Yeah, I think they put him in there because he basically he was a Southerner, and they figured put a Southern gentleman in the role, but he's not that tough to control his sons. He just yells and screams, but he's not a real tough guy.
Brod Crawford, Stephen Boyd. Who else? James Mason.
How about Robert Ryan?
Oh, right. That would have been a good
That would have been a
choice,
good
too.
one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then after the Hellbenders, Tom, I guess he appeared in Day of Anger. Excuse me, Day of Anger with Lee Van Cleef and Giovanni Gemma, and another small role, Tom.
No, it's a pretty beefy role for
really
basically for him. This one is about Scott Mary, who's Juliana Gemma, who is the town bastard of the town of Clifton, Arizona. He's held in contempt by the populace and basically given the job of cleaning the streets, picking up the horse manure, the garbage, and dumping out the bedroom chambers. When Frank Talby comes to town, he changes Scott's life and becomes a pupil of the famed gunfighter, and stage for confrontation is set when the gunman becomes unhinged and overruns the town. One of their ventures is Talby goes to another town and Scott follows him, and this character named Wild shows up. Well, that's our buddy Al Mulock, and Al and Frank Talby used to ride together, and their last bank job, Frank didn't get his cut. So Frank's all PO'd at him, and Al Mulock sort of ignores him in a way and sort of to appease him. And as they leave the cantina, they're going to have a gunfight. Well, Gemma, Scott Mary, jumps in front of Talby and says, "No, don't shoot him." Well, he shoots him anyway, and Wild goes down, and he says, "No, he's dead. He's dying. Don't shoot him again." Well, Frank pulls out a hidden gun, and Wild does, and Frank drops down and shoots him between Gemma's legs. And that's one of the lessons. If you're going to shoot a man, make sure he's dead, or he'll come back and shoot you. So
I forgot Al's role in that. Okay.
Yeah, and it's on DVD and Blu-ray. It's probably one of Lee's best films besides Big Gun Down and Death Rides a Horse. And Al's got a big role in this one.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, then, of course, we get to Al's other film that he's known for, and that's the opening scene in Once Upon a Time in the West. And just brilliant filmmaking all around. It's probably considered one of the greatest, if not greatest, spaghetti Western of all time. We've discussed that film as well. And the opening, the first 10 minutes of the film is over credits. And everybody's doing something. Jack Elam is, trapping a fly in his gun, and Woody Strode is capturing water in his hat and drinking it, and Al Murlock is cracking his knuckles.
Yep.
So tell us about this, Tom.
Well, in the first 15 minutes of the film, there's basically no dialogue. It's just sound. And the windmill's creaking, You hear boards cracking. The telegraph is going off, and Jack rips that out to stop the noise. Al Mulock is chirping to a bird, and they're waiting for the train to arrive. And the train finally arrives, and Bronson's nowhere to be found, so they start to leave. And then all of a sudden, you hear a harmonica, and they turn around, and there's Bronson with a suitcase in his hand, and he says,
Got a
"Did you
horse for
bring a
me?"
horse for me?" And that's the best line in the whole movie. Nope. Looks like you're shy one horse. Nope. You brought two too many.
Too many.
And I heard that last line. It was like my fault. 4 coffins, not 3.
Basically.
It's just the dry humor of Leone or the screenwriters are just a cut above so many of them. But apparently, it must have taken several days, and that I've heard that a lot about Leone, that he just used tons of footage, and then they edited it later. But apparently, they went back to their staying in Almeria in a hotel, and two trains of thoughts, like I mentioned before. Either Al was despondent over the loss of his ex-wife, or he had a drug habit, and he couldn't get a fix in Almeria, and committed suicide by jumping off the roof or jumping out the window and falling down and breaking his back and puncturing his lung with his rib cage. And they took him to the hospital, and he died. But the parting words, where everybody remembers, was Leone screaming at Mancini to get the costume, because they weren't done filming. It's too big now, so he refused to be in it.
Oh, wow. Great bits of trivia, Tom, as always. So there's I guess the spaghetti Western films of Al Mulock. So we did George Wang and Al Mulock, and Tom and I have decided that in future episodes, we'll probably be grouping together other people like Robert Hundar and Anthony Guidra, as well as some others. So we'll be able to showcase other I guess, names in spaghetti westerns that didn't get as much recognition. Kind of a follow-up to our, was it the first or second episode where we did obscure spaghetti
obscure
westerns,
actors, overlooked westerns, yep.
Stuff like that. So anyway,
We're
Tom.
What are we at, 941?
What's that?
On followers?
940.
I checked the other day. We said we wouldn't do it. We said we wouldn't do a Leone, a Van Cleef, and Eastwood until we got 1,000. We got 800 and some viewers and 940 some followers, I think.
I think,
the
Tom,
last I checked.
I think you're confused. I said if we get 1,000 followers, we'll do a show on the one film Deadlock.
Deadlock. Yeah.
So
yeah, sure. That's
anyway,
take 20 minutes.
Yeah, we'll do a Mario Adorf show.
There you go.
Anyway, so yeah, great show. I'm glad we're able to cover those two supporting actors. Tragic what happened to Al. But, it is what it is. A lot, William Berger, tragic ending. A lot of actors in spaghetti westerns had kind of their demise was kind of unfortunate. The Al Murlock for Movie of the Week, Tom, right?
That's right.
Just call it Al.
Just call it Al.
Right. Or
Not
don't
Al,
call me Al.
Al. Yeah, don't call me Knuckles.
Don't call me Knuckles. So anyway, we're going to continue now with segments that are fan favorites. We've got Book of the Week, and we've got Album of the Week, and we've got Autograph of the Week. And I think we'll start off with Autograph of the Week, Tom.
Okay.
And I've got for most of you trying to figure this out behind me, that's Craig Hill from 15 Scaffolds for a Killer. And I got this through one of his old press agents. The autograph, of course, not that's just the Locandina that I cut to pieces.
15 Scaffolds for a Killer.
Yeah, and there's Craig Hill, one of my favorite spaghetti Western actors. He was in Taste of Killing that we showed earlier, and he's in a bunch of great movies. So, Tom, what's your autograph of the week?
My autograph of the week is Ricardo Palacios.
Wow.
Now, my backstory on this is when I went to Spain in 2003, we went to Madrid and met Aldo Sambrell, and we were at a cafe, and the cafe opened up into the street, although we were inside, and we're sitting there talking for a while. There must have been 8 of us, some friends of his, and Aldo says, "Hey, Tom, you want to meet a spaghetti Western actor? And I thought, well, he's going to meet him, you know. He's already had a couple of tequilas. He's going to say me. No, he says, come here. And we got up. We started walking over. At this little table for two, there was a heavyset man reading a book, drinking a cup of coffee. He says, this man right over here. I said, oh, Ricardo Palacios? And Aldo looked at me like, how in the heck did you know who that was? You know, well, I've just seen pictures of him in the last year because they released a biography or an autobiography of him. And so we went over, and he could speak English. We talked to him for a while, and he gave me the autograph. But that was a real treat because I didn't expect to see anybody other than Aldo there. So that's how I got the autograph.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, now let's move on to Book of the Week, Tom. What do you got?
I got one of the early books that I've done for research called Western Lexicon. This thing goes back to 1976. Subtitle is 1,272 Films from 1894 to 1975. Publisher is W. Hain. It's in German. And I looked it up to see if it was still available, and they've actually done a reissue of it, Jay, in 1995 with now 1,567 films from 1894 to 1995. It's valued at around $30 or so that you can still pick it up paperback. But it's got all kinds of, it's got pictures in it and descriptions of the films. Of course, it's in German, but I mean, the names of the actors and directors and stuff are ones that you would you'd understand who they are.
Right. And then we close out with Album of the Week, Tom. What do you got this week?
Album of the week is, let's see, Django Spara per Primo, which is Django Shoots First by Bruno Nicolai. Get the information out here for you. This is a 1978 LP, Italian, on the Intermezzo label, number IM012. It's stereo. It's got 17 tracks. The bad part about this was in those days when you ordered these things, Jay, they never gave you a track listing, so you didn't know exactly what you were going to get. This film has one of the great vocals in spaghetti westerns called Dance of Danger, or we call it Bolero, by Dino. It's not on the LP. Apparently they had some problem with royalties or whatever, but it's not on the LP. It's valued at like $18, but I found it as much as $100 on eBay. This is Dance of Danger. This is just the instrumental version.
All right. I always thought, who's the actor again? Brent
Saxon.
Right. I always thought it looked like Jeffrey Hunter.
Yeah, a bit. Looks a bit like Jeffrey Hunter. And Erica Blanc.
Of course.
And then this one at the very end, he finds out he's got competition after his father died of owning the bank, that he had another partner, and his son was George Eastman. So George Eastman pops up at the very end, which is sort of a treat.
Okay. Sounds okay.
Yep.
I'm sure the CD sounds a little better, huh, Tom?
Well, always. I always thought that they did, but a lot of people all know the LP. Got to have that vinyl.
Oh yeah, right. Well, I'm old school too sometimes, but I'd rather not hear the hissing of the needle.
Yes. Yep.
On an old scratchy record. Anyway, Tom, now it's time for one of our favorite segments. It is Tom Betts's
News of the Week, or the weekly news.
Right.
No books, no DVDs. We're still at that end of summer for Europe, so nothing's been released for a while. I think I've got something next week that's supposed to be out. I've got two passings. One of them is renowned film, television, theater, and publicity actor Attilio Pazaban, who died Saturday at the age of 82. He's Argentinian. According to the Argentine Association of Actors, he worked uninterruptedly from 1959 to 1976, mainly as a sports journalist, film and TV actor. He appeared as the barman in 2009's Lucky Luke, which stars Jean Dujardin. That was the last Lucky Luke film that has been released. Also dying today, and most of you people won't know who this is, but if there's any people that are French out there, they'll recognize him. French actor and voice dubber Roger Carrel died today in Aigre-Charente, France. He was 93. He's basically like the Mel Blanc of France. I mean, this guy is up there in the top 2 or 3 dubbers, French dubbers of all time. After a brief acting career, he was approached by Disney, became inseparable from around 40 of their cartoon characters, such as Mickey Mouse, Kaa, the snake from Jungle Book, Winnie the Pooh. He managed to play both the famous Little Bear and Coco Rabbit and Piglet all at the same time. He was also Alf. He played Kermit the Frog in The Muppet Show, Fred Flintstone, and even the droid C-3PO from Star Wars all used his voice. Among Euro-Westerns, he was dubbed Roberto Camardiel in The Man from Nowhere, or Arizona Cold, as some of us know, 1966. In the Lucky Luke animated series, he was the voice of Ming Fu Lee, Matthias Bones, The Undertaker, sometimes Jolly Jumper, and he was also the voice of Asterix. So he, in the 1994 animated film Asterix in America, it was his voice. As far as birthdays are concerned, on September 14th, Vasily Karas turned 82. September 15th, Donald O'Brien turned 90, if he's still alive. We still question on that, but as far as I know, he's still alive. September 15th also is Henry Silva turned 92. And today, George Martin turned 83. Also got a couple of shout outs before I get to my surprise. Spaghetti Western Encyclopedia by Ichi Mizukami. It's on Facebook. Check that out. He sent me an email or message on Facebook. It's really cool. And Jean-Paul Blair, he's the guy who gave us the Japanese translations to the Leone films a week or so ago. He's got a site called the Spaghetti East on Facebook, so check that out. Now, I told Jay I had a surprise for everybody, and let me find.
Is he here?
Who's here? No, it's not a person.
Oh.
Sorry. When we had Courtney Joyner on last week, we had a meeting beforehand on Wednesday that we did a sound check, visuals, all that kind. We do lighting to make sure we got enough light on everybody. Jay can hear everybody, make sure his mic works, that kind of stuff. But anyways, Courtney told me a backstory on Steve Carver, the director of Lone Wolf McQuade and several others. In 1973, Steve was in Rome making Arena, and a bunch of the crew rented a villa or a house or whatever. And because they were in Rome and used Italian crew members and stuff like that, a certain guy dropped around occasionally and made dinner for them by the name of Sergio Leone. So Steve and Sergio became, I wouldn't say great friends, but they knew each other and chummed around a bit or whatever. So after the broadcast on Friday, on Saturday, I get an email from Steve saying, you might be interested in this. And he sent me a poster of Fistful of Dollars, which we've all seen, a big yellow one, with Clint in the poncho and that. But along with it was this. And I'm going to post this on my webpage, and it'll be on Facebook WAI tomorrow, but is a copy of the original contract between Clint Eastwood and Sergio Leone for A Fistful of Dollars. And I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to put it in Italian, and I'll translate it in English. I'll read you the English right now. Now, remember, we also found out when Frayling was here in March that Leone never came to the United States until after Fistful of Dollars. He came over here the next year to sign Lee Van Cleef. So all the signing of contracts and stuff were done in Rome when Clint came over after they negotiated with his agent. The contract reads, the company and address requested the approval of the contract stipulated on the 4th of March in California through William Morgus organization of Rome with Mr. Clint Eastwood of American nationality, on the basis of which he has undertaken to lend his artistic activity in the film Il Magnifico Straniero. Remember, that's the original title, for a period of 10 consecutive weeks. In consideration of his professional services, the aforementioned plaintiff will be entitled to receive the following emoluments. Flat rate compensation, $13,500. Remember, we've always been told it was $15,000. It was even less. Paid in the equivalent of in Italian lira to the aforementioned William Morris organization via Nomentana 60 Rome. Weekly allowance of $400 to be paid in the counter issue of Italian lira during the period of work in Italy. I guess that was for food or whatever else. Pro rata temporis of $215 to pay for artistic performances exceeding the indicated period. I guess that was make advertisements or commercials or whatever. Reimbursement of travel expenses for 2 people in Class 1, Los Angeles to Rome and back. There's no dollar amount stipulated on that. In relation to the above, the approval of this ministry for the execution of the contract in question is communicated. And it's signed by De Polis, which is the producer. So I've got a copy of it here. Like I said, it'll be on my blog page later today under the Spaghetti Western Trivia, and also I'll post it tomorrow under the WAI Facebook page. So I thought you'd all be interested in seeing the actual contract that Clint and Sergio put together. And that is it.
Tom, at least you didn't show the contract between you and I.
Here it is.
Yeah, it's basically on a paper towel. Anyway, so great bit of memorabilia there, Tom, and kind of like having a Walt Disney contract.
Well, it's amazing that this stuff still shows up 50 years later. We're finally seeing, the actual contract stuff. I've got another one next week that's interesting also.
Oh, maybe you can read the Gettysburg Address next week, Tom. So anyway, thank you for that, Tom. It's most appreciative. Just to remind everybody here that you are watching Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns, the podcast, seen every Friday on facebook.com/Spaghetti Westerns podcast. Also archived on YouTube. We've done 18 episodes. They're all there. And we have a gentleman. One of these days, I'm going to actually take a minute out, say who he is, and thank him for putting all the time signatures of when we discuss something. So you don't want to miss. If you've missed an episode, don't worry. They're here on Facebook. They're on YouTube. You can even have a listening party with 3 people if you'd like, but that's fine. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Tom's classic blog, magazine, Facebook page, and the name of his house, Westerns all'Italiana, on good old Facebook. Tom's got tidbits, obits, bit of honey, all you want to know about spaghetti westerns. Tom Betts fills in the blanks. Also, we would be remiss if we didn't, thank all the spaghetti western groups on Facebook who allow me to promote this podcast. And we would like to start off with one and only Sebastian Hallenbeck's Spaghetti Western Database, where you can find anything you want to know about spaghetti westerns, actors, Blu-ray releases, basically a great companion piece to Tom. As Sebastian likes to call it, it's the mothership.
Yep.
And anything you need to find, there's a great forum with hundreds of topics that you can discuss on that page. So please go check that out. It always ends with the website Tom Betts uses daily. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all the other groups. There is, of course, Tom's Westerns all'Italiana, which is always a main force. 800 Spaghetti Westerns, I think that's in Spain. Once Upon a Time in Italy. Spaghetti Westerns, that's John Delaney right there, Tom.
John Delaney again, yep.
Yep. Spaghetti Westerns movie posters, got great posters there. Il Miglio del Western all'Italiana with Terence Hill there. Spaghetti Westerns Unchained for you DVD collectors. Fanatiques de Western Spaghetti in France. Of course, Opera of Violence. And then our 2 friends, Hulk Janoon and Hideki Uno on YouTube. Oh, and once again, we'll thank the SWDB. How did Sebastian sneak back in there again? Anyway, so we want to thank all those groups for helping to promote this podcast. In upcoming weeks, we might have a couple surprises for you. I'm not going to let any cat out of the bag yet. You'll like it, though. We're going to have more interviews coming up. Tom and I have decided we want to talk to more spaghetti Western people. Tom mentioned that Sir Christopher Frayling is a fan of the show, a fan of Tom's. I'm sure when he takes a break, he can probably honor us. I don't know when it'll be, but we are working on it. And so far, things are looking good, but we don't have a date yet. There's also perhaps one or two spaghetti Western stars who we're going to be contacting who will be on the show, and we can discuss their career. Tom, what's the author's name who did the 2 books?
Oh, Daniel Camargo.
He'll be joining us, I think, is it 2 weeks or next week?
He did supposedly next week. He did a biography on Anthony Stephan, and he did a documentary on George Hilton.
And so he'll be here next week to discuss those projects. I saw some photos. How cool is it to be invited to go spend days or weeks in conversation with those 2 guys? Or I mean with George Hilton, I'm sorry. So, because I saw pictures with Hilton, and who else showed up? I think John Garco showed up.
Yep.
And that seems, he'll talk about that and all his other endeavors. So next week, don't miss our interview with him. Anyway, yes, Tom.
One last thing to the viewers. Anybody out there know of a database for French voice actors? There used to be one. There's one I know I use all the time for Italian. There's one for German. There's one for Spanish. And I used to have one for French, but I cannot find it anymore because I know this. Carol just passed away. Roger Carroll did a ton of Italian Western voiceovers, but the only one that they mentioned that I could find was Camardiel in Arizona Colt. And I hate to leave him out on anything I write up with all the other ones I know he did. So if anybody knows of that, could you send me a note via email or Facebook or whatever and let me know? Thanks.
All right, please do. When Tom needs your help, I'm sure the community will help out, and someone out there will know what you're looking for, Tom. So I want to thank everybody for joining us here on Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns, the podcast, the only podcast dedicated to spaghetti Westerns. So next week we'll have a special guest, and weeks after that we'll have other special guests. So we're just getting started here. Right,
maybe
Tom?
we could have a show on the actors who ran for office someplace and use all those political ads that we've got of Tracy Abrams.
Stacey Abrams, she'll be on in 2 weeks, Tom. She'll be telling us how Sleepy Joe is doing. Anyway, so for everybody out there from in Europe, in Spain, in Germany, Switzerland, Japan, Mazatlan, Korea, these are, when I've checked the viewers on YouTube, these were all the different countries that are watching our show. So anyway, we are the Abbott and Costello. We are the Martin and Lewis of
Franco and Ciccio.
It's all right. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. And anyway, we want to thank everybody here before I get too silly for joining us. Please tune in next week. Same Spaghetti Western time, same Spaghetti Western channel. We always say adios, compañeros, right, Tom?
Adios, amigos.
Adios, amigos. We'll see you next week on Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns.